Welcome to the Deep Break ASMR.
Today, we are settling in for a journey into a really classic narrative. A modern myth that's built on such incredibly rich details, the world just feels immediately tangible.
It really does.
And this isn't just going to be a summary. We're diving deep into those defining sensory moments that shape a young hero's identity. We're tracing his path from childhood oppression to finding his true place in this hidden magical world.
That's right. And we have a wealth of source material here, which gives us this really visceral look at that transition. You get to see the pivotal encounters, the formation of lifelong friendships.
And the fear.
And the gradual, often frightening realization of what true evil actually is. So our mission today is really to savor the texture of this world, to explore that tension between the painfully mundane life he was forced into and the chaos of the extraordinary destiny he was born for.
I like that, the texture of the world.
Yeah, we want to understand how those earliest experiences, the smell of the cupboard, the taste of unexpected magic, that sudden shock of fear, how they fundamentally define his character and ultimately his path forward.
Okay, so let's unpack this journey. Let's start with Act 1, the great divide finding magic in the mundane. We begin in a place that is just utterly hostile to magic, the home of the Dursleys.
Right.
An existence defined by the absolute rejection of anything strange or exciting.
The Dursley family home it's like a crucible of anti-magic. Their pursuit of normalcy isn't just, a preference, it's practically a pathology.
A pathology, that's a good word for it.
They're trying to legislate the universe through denial. You see Mr. Dursley meticulously trying to ignore these strange sightings, like this tabby cat that just sits on his garden wall.
It gives him a stern look.
Exactly, a stern look.
Yeah.
And he spends his whole morning trying to convince himself this is just, normal cat behavior. It's a psychological defense mechanism against a truth he just can't face.
It's hilarious, but also deeply unsettling, isn't it? And Mrs. Dursley is just as devoted to this fragile social facade.
Oh, completely.
The sources detail her spending dinner preoccupied not with her own family, but with neighbor gossip.
Mm-hmm.
She's telling Mr. Dursley all about Mrs. Next Door's problems with her daughter.
And she's celebrating that Dudley's learned a new word.
Which is won't.
Won't. It's a world that's so meticulously crafted to exclude any kind of deviation. And our hero, unfortunately, is the biggest deviation you could possibly imagine.
And he's literally housed in the foundation of their manufactured normal, the cupboard under the stairs.
The sources paint such a bleak picture of his existence there. He's completely used to spiders because the cupboard is just full of them. That is his default setting, neglect and constant punishment.
You have to dwell on those physical conditions because they're a symbol of how the Dursleys see his worth, right?
Absolutely. He's less than human to them.
And the details about his 11th birthday are just heartbreaking. He starts the day bitterly wishing he hadn't remembered what day it was because he knows nothing good is coming.
Last year, what did he get?
A coat hanger and a pair of Uncle Vernon's old socks.
I mean, these aren't just bad gifts. They are objects that are intended to convey his utter insignificance.
Right. They're meant to say, you are worth less than the most disposable item in this entire house. And that emotional context, that's the baseline he's operating from.
What's so fascinating, though, is that despite this intentional, environment of suffocation, the Dursleys are fighting this constant losing war against what they call funny business.
Yeah.
Harry is relentlessly warned that any strange occurrence means he'll be in that cupboard indefinitely. But the magic, it just refuses to be contained.
The hair incident is the perfect example of this uncontainable force.
Tell us about that.
Well, Aunt Petunia is determined to make him look conventional, so she shears his hair almost to the scalp. She leaves just enough bangs to hide that horrible scar.
And Dudley is just laughing himself silly.
Of course. But overnight, the hair grows back, exactly as it was before. It's like an instant regeneration.
And for this completely uncontrollable physical event, what happens?
He gets a week in the cupboard.
Of course he does. The point is so clear. Magic is this restless, defiant power. It just defies kitchen scissors and the determined conventional will of Aunt Petunia. She just can't squash it.
And there's another great example of this sort of involuntary protective magic, the shrinking sweater incident.
Oh, I love this one.
She tries to force him into this revolting old brown sweater of Dudley's. It's a symbol of that perpetual hand-me-down humiliation.
And the harder she tries to shove his arms through, the smaller the sweater seems to get.
Until it only fits a hand puppet. But crucially, she blames it on the laundry. She thinks it shrank in the wash.
Which is a rare instance where a mundane, non-magical explanation actually saves him from punishment and accidentally shields him from them.
And then there's the sheer absurdity of the rooftop incident. Dudley's gang is chasing him, as usual, and somehow Harry just ends up sitting on the chimney stack.
To his own shock, he has no idea how it happened.
None. He's later shouting through the locked cupboard door that he was just trying to jump behind the trash cans. He says, "I suppose the wind must have caught me."
So even he is struggling to process this raw, chaotic power that is literally lifting him off the ground, lifting him above the constraints of the Dursley world.
And this oppressive normalcy, it finally just explodes with the arrival of the letter. The first impossible letter addressed to him, Mr. H. Potter, the cupboard under the stairs.
The tension around the mail is just incredible.
Uncle Vernon's reaction is a masterpiece of just visceral fear and denial.
The source says his face changes color faster than a set of traffic lights.
Yes, it goes from red with apoplexy to the grayish white of old porridge. Pure terror.
And that fear is so palpable, it forces him into these increasingly desperate, panicked measures. He starts boarding up the house, driving them out to a shack on a rock in the middle of the sea.
He even locks Harry in Dudley's second room, which the sources tell us is a traumatic punishment even for Dudley.
Which really emphasizes the severity of Vernon's panic.
And that desperate psychological fortress finally collapses when the magical world literally crashes into their hiding place.
In the form of Hagrid, the giant, the keeper of keys at Hogwarts.
And the contrast in that moment is just beautiful. The Dursleys have been starving Harry. It's their ultimate form of control.
And Hagrid immediately arrives, not just with the truth, but with warmth and abundance. He offers him sausages that tasted so wonderful.
It's his first true taste of the world he actually belongs to. A world of overwhelming generosity, completely unlike the scarcity and the cold he's endured.
Hagrid's arrival is the great unveiling, and those first steps into the magical world are just full of pure sensory shock.
The trip to Gringotts Bank immediately shatters any expectation of, like, a normal bank.
Harry expects something stately, marble floors, something rigid and predictable like the Dursleys.
Right.
And instead, he finds a narrow stone passageway lit by flaming torches. Then he hears the sound of railway tracks, and a small cart just comes hurtling up towards them.
It's chaotic, it's fast, and it's completely overwhelming. The ride itself is this dizzying, terrifying immersion into a new reality.
And after that wild ride, Harry is just standing there, blinking in the sunlight outside Gringotts with a small bag of gold and silver.
More money than he has ever had in his life, certainly more than Dudley ever had.
It's the material realization of his identity and his worth. He is suddenly rich, not in Dursley terms, but in his own terms.
But right alongside that newfound freedom, the source material plants the seeds of the first really serious high-stakes mystery.
Yes, Hagrid retrieves that small, grubby package wrapped in brown paper from Vault 713. He tucks it deep inside his coat.
And Harry is dying to know what it is, but Hagrid shuts him down immediately.
It's very secret. Hogwarts business. And then he adds, "More my job's worth to tell you that."
So the narrative confirms it right away. This world is not just fun and games, it is hiding ancient secrets and tremendous danger.
That's a seamless transition, isn't it? It just launches us straight into Act 2, Foundations of Fellowship and Fear.
And Harry is preparing for this seismic shift long before he even gets to the school.
He wakes up at 5 in the morning, too excited and nervous to sleep. He pulls on jeans instead of his robes because he doesn't want to walk into the station looking like a wizard.
It's an interesting moment of self-consciousness, isn't it? He's still tethered to the social rules of the Muggle world.
Absolutely, and those final awkward moments of that world include Aunt Petunia having to talk Dudley into sitting next to Harry in the car. It just highlights the sheer relief of his physical separation from them.
But once he is on that Hogwarts Express, everything changes. Because for the first time in his life, he has money rattling in his pocket.
He can buy whatever he wants from the trolley. He is replacing scarcity with immediate, joyous consumption.
But instead of Mars bars, he discovers the truly unique taste of magic.
And what a taste it is. Birdie Bots. Every flavor beans, chocolate frogs, pumpkin pasties, cauldron cakes. The sheer unexpectedness of the flavors is the perfect metaphor for this new world.
The every flavor beans are so crucial to cementing his first friendship.
Ron immediately warns him, when they say every flavor, they mean every flavor.
Right. It's a genuine risk. You can get chocolate and peppermint, or you can get the horrific stuff.
Spinach and liver and cripe, or, as Ron discovers, blaze. See, sprouts.
It's a shared rite of passage. Harry, being a bit braver, tries a gray one that Ron wouldn't touch.
And it turns out to be Pepper.
And that small act of shared, slightly disgusting exploration, acknowledging that this world has both incredible joy and the taste of boogers, that's where their friendship really begins.
And speaking of foundations, this is where the core trio forms almost by accident.
It starts with Ron trying that faulty spell. Sunshine, daisies, buttermellow.
To turn his rat yellow, which fails miserably, of course.
And he's immediately established as this lovable, slightly frustrated figure. He's under pressure from his family history in Gryffindor, and he has this absolute dread of being placed in Slytherin.
Which he immediately calls the house you know who was in.
And then Hermione Granger enters.
She introduces herself by her full name and her academic credentials. She's already learned all the course books by heart.
She immediately questions Ron's spell and then effortlessly repairs Harry's glasses with a simple Oculus Reparo.
And just like that, her defining traits are established: immense intellectual rigor and an ability to fix things.
And Ron naturally glares at her after she leaves and says, "Whatever house I'm in, I hope she's not in it."
What a wonderfully abrasive beginning to a lifelong bond. And the house system just immediately establishes the stakes of loyalty. Gryffindor is desperate to beat Slytherin, the house that represents this ancestral darkness.
And moving into early Hogwarts life, the teaching staff immediately defines both the absurdity and the intensity of their new world.
The contrast in the classes is so stark. On one hand, you have the absurdity of Professor Quirrell's defense against the dark arts class,
The classroom smells strongly of garlic.
which he claims is to ward off a Romanian vampire he met. And he tells these suspicious stories about his turban being a gift from an African prince for getting rid of a troublesome zombie.
It's all very comedic. It makes the class feel manageable, if a bit odd,
But then you transition to Snape's potions class.
which is immediately intense
Yeah.
and deeply, deeply unjust.
The sources make it so clear that Snape is a deliberate, targeted adversary. Neville Longbottom makes that crucial mistake with his cauldron,
He adds the porcupine quills before taking the cauldron off the fire.
and boils just pop up all over his nose. But instead of punishing Neville for his mistake, Snape turns all his venom on Harry.
He docks Gryffindor points and snarls. "Thought he'd make you look good if you got it wrong, did you?"
It's a perfect act of calculated injustice. It establishes Snape as this deeply unfair enemy, and it forces the trio to immediately band together against this authority figure. It makes their later rule-breaking feel vital and deserved.
This new environment also lets Harry's natural aptitude for the physical side of magic immediately surface. With Quidditch,
Yes. The moment Professor McGonagall sees him catch that package after a 50-foot dive, she just exclaims, "Charlie Weasley couldn't have done it."
he's instantly identified as the perfect build for a seeker. Light speedy.
And this is such a profound, defining moment of recognition for him, of belonging. For the first time, an authority figure sees him, acknowledges his unique talents, and elevates him.
It's a stark, almost blinding contrast to the small, dark cupboard where his talents were just suppressed.
And that sudden confidence leads directly to the first forbidden mystery, the Sorcerer's Stone.
The sources detail how they discover it by accident. They're being chased by Peeves the poltergeist and Filch the caretaker.
And they stumble into the room with the three-headed dog, Fluffy.
Right. And we learn that Fluffy and all these other protective enchantments are there to guard the stone.
But the danger of the stone is, ironically, amplified by the sheer, heartbreaking incompetence of their loyal friend Hagrid.
When they visit him, he's offering them his signature rock cakes, described as shapeless lumps with raisins that almost broke their teeth.
He's this well-meaning figure of warmth, but he is dangerously unreliable with secrets, especially after he's had a bit too much to drink.
And that inadvertent betrayal is a real pivot point for the entire plot.
Harry realizes that Hagrid unintentionally leaked the secret of how to get past Fluffy. He mentioned that after handling Fluffy, getting a dragon would be easy.
He told that to a cloaked stranger while playing cards for a dragon egg in a pub, the Hogshead.
And he never even saw the stranger's face. It highlights a core theme, doesn't it? Sometimes the greatest dangers come not from malice, but from the flawed nature of the people you trust.
But before they confront that danger, we get this beautiful moment of belonging at Christmas, centered on the invisibility cloak.
Ron's face just shows a look of awe when he sees it. This shining, silvery cloth that's strange to the touch, like water woven into material.
The cloak is more than just a tool. It's a physical link to his father, a manifestation of his enduring love, and a source of incredible power that they now share.
And again, the contrast in gifts just highlights the emotional gap between his two worlds.
The Dursleys send a second, tiny parcel. A 50-pence coin taped to a note.
Ra is fascinated by the shape of Muggle money, but the gift itself is just a final, dismissive gesture of neglect.
And it's so starkly contrasted with the overwhelming generosity of the Weasleys. They send a hand-knitted emerald green sweater and a large plum cake.
Hagrid whittled him a wooden flute that sounds a bit like an owl.
The gifts are physical symbols. The Dursleys measure him in spare change. His new family measures him in love, warmth, and handmade effort.
And that feeling of warmth and belonging is immediately tested when he returns to school. He sees that his found family, the Weasleys, are subject to the relentless class snobbery of the Malfoys.
Which defines the beginning of their second year and really escalates the stakes.
Exactly. Moving into year 2, the poison of that rivalry really deepens. The conflict with Draco Malfoy becomes intensely rooted in class and blood status. It moves far beyond just schoolyard bullying.
Malfoy consistently sneers at the Weasleys for their poverty.
Right. When Ron reaches for a signed photo of Lockhart in flourish and blots, Malfoy sneers that the photo would be worth more than his family's whole house.
He also suggests that Ron and his brothers have to save up twig by twig just to afford a decent broom handle.
This hostility isn't just a personal attack, it's an ideological one. He's challenging the worth of the Weasleys based on their lack of wealth and, ancient purity.
And this all culminates in that intense fight at Flourish and Blots.
Mr. Weasley, when he hears Lucius Malfoy criticize his choice of friends, just throws himself at Mr. Malfoy, knocking him backward into a bookshelf.
Heavy spellbooks come thundering down, and Hagrid has to physically lift Mr. Weasley off his feet.
And Hagrid confirms the Malfoys are rotten to the core, the whole family. It's shocking to see a father figure brawl in public like that. It just shows how deep this class and blood feud runs.
That scene is so crucial because it introduces the dangerous ideology. Lucius Malfoy dropping the cursed diary into Ginny's cauldron that drives the whole mystery of the Chamber of Secrets.
And shortly after that, Mrs. Norris is petrified, and the mystery begins.
Hermione, always the engine of logic and research, quickly provides the necessary clue for their eventual cure. Mandrakes.
Right, whose cry is fatal are needed to cure the victims. And this realization, coupled with the fact that Dumbledore himself couldn't cure Mrs. Norris, leads Hermione to a crucial theory.
Whatever attacked her might not be well human.
Which leads to the Polyjuice Potion plan. This is where their loyalty completely overrides their caution and their adherence to rules.
Hermione, the ultimate rule follower, makes an incredibly difficult ethical decision here.
She argues that threatening Muggleborns with ancient secrets is far worse than brewing up a difficult potion.
And that moral calculus allows them to justify breaking into Snape's stores for ingredients like the shredded skin of a boomslang.
The logistical difficulties are fantastic, though. Ron absolutely refuses to drink anything with crab's toenails in it.
I don't blame him.
But the actual execution of the plan is full of this classic physical comedy, and it leads to one of the most memorable failures.
Harry and Ron transform, but then they quickly realize that Hermione accidentally used Millicent Bulstrode's cat's hair.
And she's become half cat. She has to spend weeks hiding in the hospital wing.
And ironically, that happens just as the mystery is heating up and they need her the most.
But even from the hospital wing, Hermione provides the single most critical piece of research. Harry finds that note, damp and crumpled in her petrified hand.
The monster is a basilisk, a giant snake.
And the key insight is that it has been moving through the school pipes. Harry remembers hearing that voice inside the walls, and it all clicks.
And Ron, who's great at practical connections, immediately realizes the entrance has to be Moaning Myrtle's bathroom.
The journey into the chamber is chaotic and terrifying. They grab the self-absorbed Professor Lockhart,
who immediately tries to put a memory charm on them so they can't have you blabbing my secrets all over the place.
But Harry saves the day using a spell Snape taught him, the disarming charm, Expelliarmus.
And the confrontation with Tom Riddle in the chamber is just deeply sinister.
Riddle explains how he manipulated Ginny through the diary. He notes how she spilled all her pitiful worries and woes, how her brothers tease her, how she had to come to school with secondhand robes and books.
How she didn't think famous, good, great Harry Potter would ever like her.
That detailed emotional vulnerability was his way in.
And the moment of revelation, where Riddle cements his identity. It's chilling.
Voldemort is my past, present, and future. He's the memory of the past made flesh. And he confronts Harry, noting the difference between them. You are famous, but I am special.
The battle that follows is just pure mythic drama. Ginny is unconscious, Harry is disarmed.
And then, suddenly, a crimson bird the size of a swan appears. Fox, piping this weird music and gripping a ragged bundle, which turns out to be the Sorting Hat.
The basilisk is released with Riddle's hissing command. Kill him. It must have been 20 feet long.
Harry is fighting blindly. Fox acts as the ultimate loyal companion, blinding the creature, ruining its lethal gaze.
In the chaos, the basilisk's tail sweeps the Sorting Hat into Harry's arms. He realizes this is his only chance.
And this is where destiny intervenes. The supposedly mundane Sorting Hat provides the glittering sword of Gryffindor,
Which Harry plunges into the roof of the basilisk's mouth.
The fight ends with Harry destroying Riddle's projection by stabbing the diary with a basilisk fang. The venom burns a sizzling hole through it, and ink spurts out in torrents.
It's a stunning victory of courage over inherited darkness, and a crucial lesson. Help will often come from the most unexpected places, even a ragged old hat.
That stunning victory leads us directly into Act 3, Betrayal, Beasts, and the Burden of Fame. We jump into Year 3, where the emotional stakes become even more dangerous and intensely personal.
And it's often outside of Voldemort's immediate influence, which is interesting.
Yes. We open with the worst birthday, again. The hero is now trying to do his schoolwork in secret with an eagle feather quill.
His required reading includes a biting book that snaps shut on his hand.
And then it flaps past him, scuttling on its covers under the desk. The very objects of his education are physically assaulting him.
And this constant exhausting stress all culminates with the arrival of Aunt Marge.
Aunt Marge is the catalyst. She insults his dead parents, pushing Harry past his break point.
Her wine glass explodes in her hand, and then she inflates, accidentally.
He didn't mean to do it, but that uncontrollable magic, the very force that had been constrained for years, just violently rebels against the source of his trauma.
The escape that follows is via the night bus, which is a truly surreal and crucial piece of world building.
The bus is invisible to Muggles because, as one of the conductors notes, Muggles don't listen properly, do they? Don't look properly either. Never notice nothing, they don't.
It affirms the inherent secrecy of their world and the Muggles' willful ignorance of it.
And the journey itself is pure, chaotic freedom, a physical antithesis to the Dursleys' rigid order.
The bus keeps mounting the pavement, but lampposts, mailboxes, and trash cans just jump out of its way.
It's an affirmation that in the magical world, gravity and conventional physics are negotiable. And this terrifying escape results in a temporary reprieve.
He lands at the leaky cauldron and realizes he's facing 3 completely Dursley-free weeks. A profound moment of freedom he's never experienced before.
But that freedom is short-lived. The true danger is introduced immediately. Sirius Black, the escaped prisoner.
And Black is initially presented as the worst kind of traitor. The Potter's best friend, best man, and Harry's godfather, who allegedly betrayed them to Voldemort.
This shifts the conflict from a conceptual battle against evil to a deeply personal, heartbreaking vendetta.
And the news hits Ron and Hermione much harder than it hits Harry at first, which is telling.
Ron says, "How thick would Harry have to be to go looking for a nutter who wants to kill him?" They are much more frightened of Black than he was.
Because Harry views the world through the lens of a direct threat. He's only concerned with confrontation.
Whereas his friends grasp the wider psychological danger of a madman on the loose.
The Dementor encounter on the train is so impactful because the threat is no longer physical. It's emotional and spiritual.
The Dementor's arrival causes Harry to collapse. And in that moment of terror, he hears an echoing internal scream.
Which he later realizes is the final moments of his mother's life, attempting to protect him from Voldemort, followed by Voldemort's laughter.
This shifts the threat from something external to something deeply personal and internalized. The Dementor doesn't just suck happiness, it forces the hero to relive his deepest trauma.
And that experience necessitates the anti-Dementor lessons with Professor Lupin, the new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher.
Lupin's method involves the advanced and painful Patronus charm. It's not just a spell, it's an emotional defense mechanism.
Harry has to actively seek out a truly happy memory, to conjure even a silver mist.
A task made agonizingly difficult by his Dursley upbringing. It reinforces how deeply the trauma of his past still controls his present.
And we also see Lupin's inherent kindness. He tackles a Boggart himself, and he gives Gryffindor points to everyone who tackled the creature, 10 for Neville because he did it twice.
He acknowledges the courage required.
This year is also defined by the discovery of the Marauders map. This piece of powerful, slightly mischievous technology given to him by Fred and George.
It reveals secret tunnels and the real-time movements of everyone inside the castle.
The map is a profound physical link to his father's past, and its activation phrase, "I solemnly swear that I'm up to no good," defines the entire ethos of necessary rebellion in this world.
It's a tool for breaking rules, but often for morally correct reasons. Though Hermione, ever the rule follower, rightly worries that Sirius Black could be using one of those secret passages.
And the heartbreak of the perceived betrayal by Black is just amplified when Harry overhears that conversation in Hogsmeade.
Fudge, McGonagall, and Hagrid confirm the devastating truth. Black was James Potter's best friend, best man, and Harry's godfather.
This revelation adds a crushing emotional complexity to Harry's burning desire for revenge. He now knows the man he despises was family, which elevates the betrayal to an unbearable level.
He wants to confront Black not just because he's a killer, but because he destroyed the life his father built.
And the rivalry with Malfoy, though overshadowed by Black, continues. It's always petty, but occasionally dangerous.
Malfoy sneers at Harry's new firebolt broomstick, suggesting it should come with a parachute in case he gets too near a Dementor.
And Harry, equally sharp, retorts that Malfoy should attach an extra arm to his broom so it could catch the snitch for him.
But this petty malice culminates in Malfoy's failed sabotage attempt at the Quidditch match.
He and his friends try to disguise themselves in long, black, hooded robes, standing on Goyle's shoulders to mimic a Dementor.
And they are quickly caught by Professor McGonagall and Professor Lupin. It just highlights how often the real threats are obscured by these childish attempts at terror, but even these attempts can severely damage Harry's mental state.
Which brings us to Act 4. Loyalty and Final Farewells, focusing on the climactic resolutions and emotional consequences of Year 3. We should start with the injustice surrounding Hagrid and the Hippogriff, Buckbeak.
The sources convey Hagrid's visible, just pathetic helplessness during the Buckbeak trial. He looks like a man who did not know where he was or what to do. His great hands are shaking as he reaches for the kettle.
It's the visual image of a loyal, well-meaning giant, completely broken by the official legal system.
And the judgment is a source of immense helplessness for the trio. They see the executioner, McNair, running his broad thumb along the blade of a shining axe.
And Ron, who's always protective but often blunt, just notes, this isn't justice.
This moment also reinforces Ron's accurate but harsh critique of Hagrid's nature. He always thinks monsters aren't as bad as they're made out, and look where it's got him, a cell in Azkaban.
Hagrid's unconditional love for all creatures, from the deadly Aragog to the protective Fluffy, is his greatest strength, but also his most fatal flaw when he's dealing with a bureaucratic, fearful Ministry of Magic.
And the climax of Year 3 is that heartbreaking, chaotic resolution of the Sirius Black mystery, where emotional rage meets cold logic.
Harry confronts Black, driven by rage and the taunt that Black betrayed his father.
You see the hero's true vulnerability and his capacity for vengeance. Harry roars, "He killed my mom and dad!" before being restrained by Ron and Hermione. He wants his wand not to defend himself, but to attack, to kill.
Which is entirely understandable, given the narrative he's believed for 12 years.
And when Lupin arrives, it sets up the confrontation between Lupin and Snape, a confrontation driven by a decades-old schoolboy grudge.
Snape, always acting on emotion rather than reason, binds Lupin with these snake-like cords, revealing the truth about Lupin being a werewolf.
But Harry defends Lupin. He points out the logic that Snape missed.
Right. Harry argues that if Lupin were truly helping Black, he could have easily finished Harry off during their private anti-Dementor lessons when they were alone.
Harry's quick logic overrides Snape's bitterness and prejudice.
And the ultimate saving of Sirius and Buckbeak is achieved not through some new spell, but through Hermione's logical realization.
Guided by Dumbledore's cryptic advice, help will always be given at Hogwarts to those who ask for it.
They realize the only way to save Black is to temporarily defy the laws of time and physics, using a complex, non-magical solution, because the official, normal means of proving his innocence have completely failed.
Dumbledore, after the rescue, sounds perfectly amused. He's reinforcing his own preference for justice over blind obedience.
He tells the executioner, "McNair, if Buckbeak has indeed been stolen, do you really think the thief will have led him away on foot? Search the skies, if you will."
And the executioner leaves, and Hagrid is just weak with happiness. The system was bypassed, and justice was served by rule-breaking courage.
But this victory is immediately undercut by the profound loss of Professor Lupin. He resigns because the parents will inevitably discover he is a werewolf and won't want him teaching their children.
Harry insists he was the best defense against the dark arts teacher we've ever had.
But Lupin says that must never happen again. He's acknowledging the inescapable power of prejudice and fear, even in a world that relies on magic.
It's a sad end to a powerful mentorship. It reinforces the idea that good people are often driven away by the mundane fear of difference.
Despite the emotional toll of that year, the journey ends on a high note of collective triumph.
Gryffindor House wins the house championship for the third year running, largely due to their Quidditch success.
The Gryffindor table erupts so loudly that someone standing outside might well have thought some sort of explosion had taken place.
The victory isn't just about a trophy, it's about morale and collective identity. Neville, white with shock, is nearly crushed under a pile of hugging students after Dumbledore awards him the final crucial points.
For recognizing his courage in standing up to his friends earlier in the year.
And finally, the true personal reward of their efforts arrives. A letter from Sirius Black, delivered by an eager, questionable owl.
It confirms his and Buckbeak's freedom and the promise of future contact.
And Harry's ultimate prize is that promise of connection. He is left with 3 Dursley-free weeks. A small but profoundly meaningful triumph of loyalty and knowledge over official injustice.
His victory isn't measured in gold, but in time spent away from oppression, knowing he has a true, loving connection waiting for him in that hidden world.
This journey, detailed across these defining years, offers so much more than just plot points. So, what does this all truly mean when we look back across the entire path we've traced?
I think what stands out most vividly is the profound importance of critical thinking and relentless inquiry, especially when you're facing systems designed to control information.
Exactly. Hermione's logic is repeatedly the essential ingredient in their success. From the intricate path to the Sorcerer's Stone to her identifying the basilisk by realizing it used the plumbing pipes.
She notes that the greatest wizards often lack an ounce of logic.
And without their ability to question rumors and apply intellect to these magical mysteries, they would have been stuck forever.
The narrative makes a strong argument that courage has to be supplemented by intellect.
Right.
Without the ability to challenge official narratives, the story that Sirius Black was a murderous traitor, the belief that Fluffy was an insurmountable guard dog, they would have either failed to stop Voldemort's return or allowed an innocent man to be destroyed by assumption.
And by political expediency.
Yeah. The complexity of allegiance is also a central thread. From Snape's hidden, bitter grudge against Lupin, which just blinds him to the immediate truth,
to Sirius Black's deep, true loyalty, which was so cleverly concealed by deceit and a distorted public narrative, the constant need to seek the full story, often outside the confines of the rules, is a defining trait of the successful hero in this world.
We saw this time and time again. They used the illegal polyjuice potion. They relied on the mischievous Marauder's map.
They learn that sometimes breaking the rules of the Ministry is the only way to adhere to a higher moral law of loyalty and truth.
Which leads us to a crucial question about trust and information in any world, magical or otherwise.
We've seen how perception and rumors shape reality. The Dursleys' rigid definition of normalcy, the Malfoys' class influence over official structures, the Ministry's blind adherence to eyewitness testimony over the possibility of complex magical deceit.
The accepted truth is often fragile, shaped by those in power.
So consider this as you go about your day and you encounter complex narratives or widely accepted assumptions. If the hero had never found the courage to pursue knowledge outside the official rules, had never brewed that illegal potion, had never used that mischievous map, had never ignored the authority figures telling him to stop asking questions, how many crucial truths would have remained buried?
And how many innocent lives, like Sirius Black's or Buckbeak's, would have been ruined by assumption and the failure of conventional justice? The greatest weapon in this world is not always magic, but the relentless, sometimes rule-breaking, search for the full story.